Hey guys, how's it going? So 3 things for today. First off, we're going to start with an update of the grass seed that Aaron just planted. Well, it feels like he just planted it. It's coming in thick and fast. It's looking beautiful. So we're going to take a look at the whole area. Second, we're going to head to the Hartley and we are going to do some planting. We've got some boxwoods to put in the ground as well as Buddleia and Superbina. And then third, Aaron's got a new fertilizer spreader. So he wanted to show you how it works and just share his thoughts on that. So that's what we've got in the lineup for today. Look at this. Isn't the grass gorgeous? It's a blend of perennial rye and Kentucky bluegrass. It's called the lawn mix from my parents' garden center, and it matches the rest of the grass. It's in the big lawn and then, carrying on down the lane, kind of where Aaron's mowing way down there. But I cannot even believe how quickly this seed has come up and how beautiful it looks. Boy, it's hard to envision sometimes when the whole area just looks like white powder dirt and there's not a lot going on and there's weeds and stuff like that. Having the brick border is so helpful too, because it just defines the area. And these bricks, exposed to our hard water and the elements, they will lighten in color like these have. But it keeps the gravel in check. It keeps it where it needs to be and keeps it out of the flower beds or out of the grass. So Aaron's going to take the land plane that's an attachment for the back of the tractor, and he'll take it over the gravel, kind of just scrapes up gravel and tumbles it and puts it back down. It kind of fluffs it up and helps any dirt that has surfaced. It helps it settle back down to the bottom and makes it look like a fresh, brand new, like we just got fresh gravel, even though we didn't. So when he does that, all of the little metal barrier to keep the bricks in check, in place, will be covered. So anyway, I just am so thrilled with this. What we are planning to do over here, this is the entrance to the dirt lands. We are going to landscape this area right here, and we're going to put a big boulder right here, right at the edge, so that if you've got a truck or a trailer coming through, it's a very visual notation of the edge of the border so that nobody accidentally clips this brick border or the sprinkler that's right there. Anyway, we'll have the stone, we'll have this section landscaped, and then we are going to be putting a gate in right here. So there will be a little gator size lane to get to the gate, but you won't really see it because of all the things. I'm planning on putting another tree here, probably an evergreen. So it's going to be a fun transition. We can look over the fence real quick. Oh, I came out here, I weeded the whole thing last night. Well, the row, not the middle section. Look at our onions and our potatoes. Everything's looking really great. Let's just have a little walk down the lane here and I can show you from the other angle what it looks like. But isn't that gorgeous? It just looks so fresh. It almost looks fake. It's such a vivid green. Perspective, there's the house. Ooh, I'm going to show you my favorite containers so far this year too while we're down here. We're also going to be bringing in some mulch right here, tearing out this little weird wing of boxwoods, and then continuing on with some landscaping in this area. But you can see here where the grass used to end, right here. And this area was used hard. We drove the gators over this space multiple times a day to get to the high tunnel, which used to be here. And then I planted some row crops in here as well. But let's turn around. Take a look, isn't that nice? Standing back so you can see one of the maples that's been here for a while versus the 5 that we put in this spring. A little bit different in size, but we were able to get a hold of some really tall ones, so I'm thankful for that. You also see that the brick stops right here, and that's just because of time. We're going to continue the bricks on as we can, as there's time to do that all the way around. Same with this side, the bricks will continue on and they'll actually go all the way around and connect to the bricks that are over there. It's one of those very unimportant, kind of fussy projects that it really helps in the end, but it's not a necessary thing to do. Not like running drip to plants and keeping the weeds in check and that kind of thing. Oh, I'm just so thrilled. The grass looks so great. All right, we got to take a look at these pots. Look at this blend of plants. They are so gorgeous. So we've got the Vivid Violet Dahlia, that's a Virtuoso Vivid Violet. We've got the Unplugged White Salvia right there as our centerpiece. So there's one of those, 3 of the Dahlia. We've got Superbell's Grape Punch. This is a Lobelia Laguna Pink, I think. And then we've got a Superbell's Double Smitten Pink. And I just repeated these 3 all the way around. I'm gonna put my shadow on it here for a second, but Look at that. They're so pretty, especially once we get mulch around and cover up all the metal that we see going here. We've got to fix the pathway and bring it out. But oh, I see these pots when we're driving by and they just make me so happy. They're such a beautiful color combo, I think. I love them. Anyway, I could get sidetracked all day and show you guys how things are doing, but I do have some things to get in the ground. So we are going to be planting some of the new I think they're the Independence, or maybe they're the Freedom Boxwoods that Proven Winners is bringing into their line. We planted some at the east side of the barn last week. This week we are planting some along the pathway that leads up to the Hartley right here. Aren't these going to look great? And I'm not going to hedge these. These are going to be spheres. So we'll have round, spheres leading all the way up to where it transitions into a hedge up there. But I just love it. They're gorgeous. So this side is a little bit longer. It's we've got 7 boxwoods here. This is the shorter side of the curve, so we've got 6 boxwoods there. But I just think they're gorgeous, the color. They're so shiny. Hi, Russell. He's like, oh, here's my opportunity. You get some pets. And then you guys, look at this. We're gonna plant a bunch of Buddleia. I got these last year. We wintered them over in the high tunnel, so they're not looking peak. I mean, they look gorgeous, but if you look in here, like there's some yellowing leaves, some dried up, from last year. We actually never cut these back. We didn't do any maintenance to these whatsoever this spring. So they're looking pretty good given that. But I thought this would be so pretty. I mean, we've got such a formal look right here, and I think carrying on with something that's a mass, it's not like a formal hedge or anything, well, kinda, but I think this is going to be a really pretty, very striking look for this area. I knew in this space I wanted to do something with repetition, something for mass impact. These get 5 to 6 feet tall and wide, so I mean they'll fill in this area. And then I was thinking, like right in here, popping a great big, like a big old grass right here. I don't know what kind, but some kind of big grass. We have a hibiscus that survived the entire renovation, excavation of this entire area. This was planted when the gazebo was still here. And I mean, skid steers, excavators, everything was in here, and this one survived. I think it's a, something berry. Oh, it's very bright pink. And then we've got a Zafiro blue spruce, which doesn't get super big, 8x6, so that one will stay kind of compact. But I think the purple is going to be beautiful here. This is going to be very low maintenance. It's not going to require a ton of water. I was initially thinking of doing hydrangeas, but that would require like double at least or more water than these will require. So I think that this is going to be a really fun choice. And then for this year, we've got the Superbena Whiteout, which is so pretty. It contrasts the purple of the Buddleia just perfectly. And in the end, we'll come in probably with something more like a perennial. I don't think, maybe boxwoods again, just so we have some winter interest along the edge. I'm not sure, but for this year, we're gonna go with the big white blooms here, and I think it's just gonna be stunning. So we've got all of these Buddleia to plant, all the boxwoods, and then the Superbena. It's gonna be a good day. Also, real quick, we do have a prairie fire crabapple I forgot to mention. That's looking so weird. Its growth habit is so strange. It's got 4 trunks, which I absolutely love. And I wanna say it grows like 20 to 25 feet tall. I might be slightly off on the measurement there. But it's just sat here for, I don't know, is this its 4th year in this spot maybe? 3rd year? How long have we had the Hartley? It was planted, I think, the same year. Anyway, I actually came in last night and pruned off a bunch of branches that were hanging down even lower. It's like it wants to do a weeping thing. I don't know. So we're gonna just watch this one and see what happens. I do like the idea of having that tree right in here because I think that it will provide some kind of reddish leaf color. You can see right here, the new growth is definitely red, and then it kind of mellows out a little bit more green. But the crab apples are beautiful. They're persistent. They don't fall off. In the fall, the birds clean them up, and then it just provides such a gorgeous spring color. I want it to just like kind of start growing taller. Sometimes it takes things a minute to adjust. But anyway, guys, what I'm going to do is grab my auger. I'm going to walk through and just make sure I've got the Buddleia spaced out decently, and then we're just going to start in, get these holes dug, and get them in the ground. Boxwoods are in, so I wanted to stop and give you an update. Look at these. Aaron decided to come out and help, which was so nice. Thank you, Aaron.
I think we went through an entire battery.
Did we go through an entire one?
Yeah.
That was full.
Yeah.
I believe it, you guys. This hole right here, I don't know what is, maybe that's what's going on with this tree, Aaron. Maybe the soil for that boxwood is making this tree weird.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna blame it on. It's the soil for sure. Anyway, that hole was so hard to dig. It was just like a solid wall in there. So Aaron did his best to, kind of ream it out and make it fluffy as far around it as we could. So I think we'll be happy for a little while at least. And I just love it. I think they're beautiful. We just kind of eyeballed the spacing here. I use my foot as a measurement guide, and so they're roughly like 4 of my feet plus about 2 inches apart from one another. And even though these aren't going to be a hedge, because if you are planting a hedge, you can be off by a few inches and it's not going to matter. Eventually they'll grow together and you shear them and you can't even tell really where one plant begins. But when you're doing spheres like this, you still can be a little bit off, because we're not going to shear them perfectly. We don't have a machine to do it. It's going to be a human shearing them up. So they most likely won't be 100% perfect spheres. So if we're off by an inch or 2, I don't think it's going to really register. But they're just gorgeous. Look at them from this angle right here. So you can see our stone pathway that comes out from the lawn area. It's just beautiful. Add some gorgeous, gorgeous winter structure. Hopefully we don't run into hard soil for the Buddleia. Okay, so phase 2, all the holes for the Buddleia. I can handle the Super Bina on my own, I think. Okay. That'll be phase 3. Easy phase. All done, and it looks even better than when they were sitting here in their containers. I love it. Oh my goodness. They are so beautiful. All of them. All these plants are gorgeous. So the Buddleia are just stunning, and they are attracting the honeybees like crazy. I mean, they are just flying all over the place on these. I could hear them humming, buzzing while I was planting. And there was a swallowtail here for just a little bit as well. But that's always fun to see. Now, I had planned on just putting the Super Bina right in front, but the whiteout gets massive. So this plant is going to take up a ton of space. So I decided to kind of go in the back and do a second layer and kind of fill in, which I think is really pretty. And it'll kind of just draw, that light color will draw your eye in instead of just kind of, stopping right here. Oh, it's just so fun. And, having something in here now, it kind of like motivates you to keep going. Like I said, maybe a grass in here, maybe a couple or a trio of grasses, great big ones, or who knows what else. But once you start with something, you can kind of build from there. And the boxwoods look amazing back there as well. Boy, that just spruced that area right up. Also, I don't know if I already mentioned this, maybe I already talked about it. These containers right here, I had considered putting the boxwoods like starting with a sphere, which would be beautiful, but I think I'll always want to have planted containers here. They won't be these. These are not the right scale. They were just the only ones I had available at the time that I was planting this location. I'm thinking something like maybe double the height. I think that would be the right kind of scale for this area, especially once the boxwoods get big. But these do just fine for now, and I really like the color. I actually like the color of all 3 of these together. This is that double grapefruit Super Bell, is a new one for next year. And a Dragon Slayer Yucca, which is a new perennial for next year. It's a beautiful blend. I'm hoping that they're really compatible with one another. And just for perspective, you know, we've got the parterre right here, which is a little update on the dahlias. Aren't they beautiful in here? And the unplugged So Blue Salvia is just getting going. So once we see more color there, I think that that will really brighten it up. But I'm really enjoying it. We've got the Sweet Romance Lavender, which is the purple, so it's really fun to have that purple color drawn over this way. Yeah, this whole space is looking nice. I do plan on moving these geraniums. These have been here since we moved in, and they've also survived all the things in this area. They just keep popping up, and I can't bear to move them right now because they are loaded with blooms and they're full of honeybees. So I'm just gonna leave them alone for a minute, but we'll have some other things in here. You know what else might look good? Is popping something in here that's got a bright winter colored stem, like maybe something red twig or yellow twig in here. I think that might be a really pretty addition because we've got the boxwoods now. Grasses are also a really pretty addition if we pick one that's strong enough to, you know, hold some snow, that sort of thing. Yeah, some nice twig color would be good. And then to the left of this area is the pond berm, all of that. I can show you the walkway on the other side by the Dream Stream. They just put the sand in and it looks great. Look at this. So this portion of the walkway is done for now. All the way around. Just gonna take you on the little loop here. All the way to the court, and then this is phase 2 of the project. But it also goes up this way as well, and this little section. Oh, it's perfect. Here's a look at that bed from a little further away. So pleased. So this really is just kind of an impact planting project, taking, you know, just a few varieties of things, or even one, if it's a smaller space, and planting a lot of them together. That really can create a huge amount of impact. And I felt like in this space it was maybe even a little bit needed because we've got the pond berm and the pond sort of style planting, which is much more, a little bit more natural, a little bit more wild. There's a lot more going on texturally. And then, you know, we're gonna start in right over here, like right around the willow, which the willow in and of itself has got a lot of, you know, that fine kind of texture. But this whole area is gonna be more cottagey. Boy, that bird is just going to town, wherever it's at. It's pretty. Anyway, so I think having like the solid structure and some impact planting mixed in with what's going to happen here with the cottage is going to be nice. And you guys, that is going to do it for my project today. I'm super happy with the flower bed. Very thankful for Erin's help digging all the holes. I did not realize how hard some of them were going to be. And even when I came through with the 3-inch auger for those Super Bina, there were a couple of moments where I think I was where the lane kind of used to be. The driveway has kind of shifted just a foot or two both ways. And I think I was just straight in where that driveway was, and it was hard, and I was just kicking up a bunch of rocks. So anyway, I was super happy that Erin helped me with the big auger. That made for really pleasant planting, and it was very pleasant working in here. And he was mentioning how, you know, in no time at all, it's going to be like this planting everywhere on our property. We're going to be planting in the shade, and it's going to feel glorious. That's our goal. Anyway, now that this project is done, Erin is going to show you his new fertilizer spreader and show you how it works and all of those different types of things. So I hope you enjoy.
Okay, I want to show off a little toy that I got recently and I'm a little bit excited about. This is my new PTO spreader. It is an SS 106-7B. It's bigger than my last one, and you might remember that the last spreader that I had was a ground driven unit, and the difference here is that this is a PTO driven. So the ground driven unit was okay, but there was a couple gripes with it that I just kind of couldn't get over. A positive was that you could pull it with anything. I would pull it with gators or with the lawnmower. That was nice. However, because it was ground driven, it hooked up to the drawbar like this of whatever I was using, but that meant that it sat kind of away from where I was sitting, and I couldn't control the lever to open and close the gate. And that was a problem because I would have to stand up. I would open up the gate kind of like this. This opens and closes the gate. Like that's open, that's closed, and you can control, you know, if you want it halfway or all the way. But I would have to stand on the ground, open up the gate, and then go get in the seat of whatever I was driving. And in that time, a bunch of fertilizer would fall out, and I would just have this giant pile. And so the second that I would start driving, I'd have just a huge pile of fertilizer that would, fly out. And I didn't really know how to combat that. So with this one, I'm much closer. I can sit here and just reach behind and push this gate up, open it up, and I can go when I'm ready to go, and I can just start driving, and I don't get that big pile of fertilizer that builds up that, I actually had it burn the grass one time. The other nice thing about this unit is that it is bigger than the last one. This is like 675 pounds I think you can keep in here, which is a lot. But, our property is getting bigger and bigger. And, I ended up with the last unit, I would have to fill it several times. And this one, I don't know. We'll find out how many times I need to fill it. Another nice thing with this one is that it's got this nice agitator, which, in all fairness, maybe I could have got with the last one. But let me show you how this works. Okay, start up the tractor. And then this button right here engages the PTO, which basically makes the thing spin. So what I can do is I can engage this first before the gate is open. And then I can open the gate. That way I'm not spilling fertilizer everywhere. So let me turn this on. Pretty cool, huh? I'm excited about the agitator because I didn't have that before. And if your fertilizer, or I'm going to be doing gypsum and fertilizer today, if it's wet at all, it wants to just kind of glob up at the bottom. And the problem with these bigger units is that if you fill them up with fertilizer, you've got 300, 400, maybe 500 pounds of fertilizer in there, and you have to shovel it out to get to where it's clogged up. And it's a huge pain in the butt. So I'm hopeful that even if there's a little bit of moisture and it wants to kind of, glob together, that thing will still just break it up and allow it to go down the chute. So let's go get some gypsum first. We're going to spread that, and then we'll go through with some fertilizer. I totally love it. The hopper's bigger. I can do the entire lawn with one hopper as opposed to having to fill it 2 or maybe even 3 times. Also, it just feels more secure. It's maybe the same as if you have a pickup with a camper on the back of it versus pulling a trailer. It's it just feels like it's all part of the machine, as opposed to when you're pulling something, it bounces a lot, and I'm constantly worried about fertilizer falling out. I've had it fall over before with the tow behind unit. So having it connected to the tractor, I love that. Let me show you the fertilizer I'm going to use. All right, here it is. It's not all that exciting because it's the same stuff I've been using for years, and I've showed it before, but it's the Espoma Organic Lawn Food. I do prefer, so I like this green bag the most. They sell a couple other different types, like this one here, the Summer Revitalizer. It's fine. They've got a spring food, a fall food, and a summer food. I just prefer the all season, and I'll put that on any time of the year. So if you want to do the seasonal food and put the different product on each time, go for it. I've done that before. And honestly, I've just been so impressed with this one that it's why mess with a good thing, right? It seems like this does good no matter what season you're putting it on. It greens up the grass. It starts growing like crazy. If you don't like to mow, then maybe don't use this fertilizer, because you're going to have to mow more often. One thing I don't like about fertilizing is that it messes up my lines in the grass. So I like to have nice and tidy lines, and I alternate patterns. One week I'll go straight, another week I'll go diagonal. But whenever you're fertilizing, you kind of mess up those lines. So it always kills me to do it. Like fertilizer, I think is so important for your lawn. And gypsum, I think, is really important. At least for us, it is. So I do it because I believe in it. But if I didn't believe in it, I would skip it because I hate the fact that it puts weird lines in my lawn. They go away after like a week or two. But I do fertilize about once a month, maybe every 6 weeks. And that's one thing I noticed about the packaging, that it would say to fertilize, I think it's every like 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. But I think you can fertilize more often than what Espoma says. Now, if you do something to your lawn, don't email them because, what do I know? But I don't have any issues fertilizing once a month. And I also go a little bit heavier than what they say on the bag, and it works just fine for me. So, take that for what it's worth. In terms of how much you should put on your lawn, you just have to look at the bag. It has settings for like a Scott spreader, which is maybe the most common, maybe a couple other ones. But I've never seen, what setting on a John Deere spreader that you should put it on. So what I do is I just look at the application rate. It'll tell you like how many pounds per acre or something like that. So you just kind of have to like maybe get a Google image view of your yard. Google Earth lets you put a boundary around it, and it'll tell you how many like point acres you've got. And so it'll tell you, you've got like 0.1 acres of lawn or something like that. And then you just do the math on figuring out how many pounds that is for your grass. And then I just try to set, my setting on like a lower setting and just keep going over the grass until you've gone through that much fertilizer basically. And again, I go a little heavier than whatever the bag says. So that's pretty much it. I'm not going to film putting down the fertilizer because it's exactly the same thing as what I just did. I can't fertilize the other parts of the lawn because we just watered it last night and it gets a little heavy and I don't want to cause ruts. So I'll like water an area, wait 2 or 3 or 4 days, and then fertilize and then water it again. So anyway, so that's the new spreader. I like it very much, and we'll see you in the next one.